Hey guys, how's it going? Amma here. Today is a monthly update of the Final Fantasy Dissidia Opera Omnia tier list. Before I go on, I want to emphasize that this list is based on my opinions for each unit, whether it's by hands-on experience or by researching to find out how they performed for other players in the past month. A lot of players don't believe in tier lists for this game, and that's because they are heavily invested in the game like I am, and they have developed their own opinions and such. They are entitled to them, and that's fine. But I also believe that there are still people out there who appreciate this kind of video in order to point them in the right direction, if you will. In the video's description below you will find the tier list videos starting from January, as well as my characters analysis playlist. Keep in mind that this will not include every single character in the game right now. I am only including characters that I believe have a chance to see some chaos play with one way or another without having to hard carry them. If you strongly disagree with some of my rankings, let me know in the comment section down below and why you think differently. Starting now, I'll be including units that come in the upcoming month and giving them a rank of how I think they will perform. So let's begin. Once again, Aranea remains the queen of damage dealers while she's able to boost her own team's damage, delay on command and re-break for free turns. Her amazing HP plus skill is just square and is giving the middle finger to every other unit in the game. Get used to seeing this unit at the top. Hope's rework and EX Plus makes him one of the top units in the game. Having splash on his HP plus, free turns on both skills, brave damage reduction double than selfies, strong battery options and a hard-hitting EX. Amazing job Square Enix. Penelo has versatility through the roof, free turns, amazing batteries, strong auras and damage which rivals that of DPS units. Her 100% shaving EX always hits for over 80k for free. Be careful with her 4 generic buffs though, not the easiest unit to play. Snow is the reason why I couldn't put Zag and Galuf in the S plus bracket. Snow goes from a joke tank to basically a better version of Zag, dishing out huge amounts of damage, and he also provides HP damage reduction for his team to counter those nasty AoE HP attacks that you sometimes cannot avoid. Unless you've been living under a rock, you should know by now how strong Vayne is. Honestly, the AoE re-break he got on his EX was the only thing he needed. Amazing unit with a crapload of free turns and delays that result from his constant re-breaking. Leo was considered one of the meta kings in the JP version, and this is true in the global version as well 9 months later. He's undeniably strong and a game changer who's able to raise your other single target units to greatness. His own damage coupled with his batteries elevate him above most strong units. Whether we get the bugged version of Lightning or the nerfed one, she'll still be as strong as hell, delaying indefinitely, getting free turns on breaks like Aranea, and free skills which makes her last forever. Her EX Plus allows her to imperil her own element finally, which is just a cherry on top. Keep in mind that Lightning has a somewhat complicated kit and she isn't the easiest unit to use perfectly. Like I always say, Y'shtola is your free get out of jail card, something that has become more apparent in the recent month, seeing how many people are using Y'shtola as their highest HP team member in order to draw the boss attacks on her and immediately heal back to full health with her HP. With her EX, Amazing battery with HP plus and delays for days. Shadow. He returns and this time he's not holding a pinwheel, but he has his Doggo Interceptor with him. Being able to do a follow-up attack on all of his skills for up to 40k damage makes his damage per turn not only catch up to top units but even surpass them. I've talked about Galuf in more detail recently on his analysis video, so there shouldn't be any surprise why he's so high. His only weakness is being able to cover AoE attacks, and this counter-based tank can rival DPS units in terms of damage. Same thing can be said about Zac, who in my opinion is still going strong even 2 months after his EX+. There really hasn't been any change in the meta that could hinder Zac's power. I think Yuri is low-key flying under the radar this past month, since I haven't seen as many Yuri runs as I would like to, which is really strange because this character can do no wrong. Gravity shaving, strong aura, strong EX and huge longevity. Rosa, in my opinion, remains the aura bot queen, seeing how sometimes the highest score teams prefer using Rosa instead of other supports who are considered stronger, like Penelo. Experienced players will use Rosa to the fullest, taking advantage of free bloom skills in order to maximize the team's damage instead of using free base skills. Porom is a very important support in my opinion, which can do you no wrong. Well, apart from shaving, that is. She's able to increase your team's maximum HP while also reducing HP damage as well. Her EX Plus makes her EX skill hit like a truck and helps her be more efficient with her skills. Ultimecia and Emperor are in the group of those really strong units that you kind of forget about because at this point they are both between 4 to 5 months old, so you tend to use newer units in your team comps. But these two characters are still the top magic type DPS in the game, and that is in my opinion, of course. Ignis falls under the really strong support with zero shaving category, but his versatility along with his turn manipulation makes this unit a no-brainer in almost any team comp. Last but certainly not least in the S tier bracket is Jack. Remember what I said about Shadow doing a follow-up attack on every skill? Well, Jack does that too, but he's even better at it and an overall stronger unit in my opinion. He's a very risky character to play since he reduces his own HP down to 1, so I would not recommend Jack to new players. We're gonna talk more about all the new units when I do their analysis videos. In the A tier we have the units that I believe they are really still powerful, but they are just not as strong as S tier units, while sometimes they need a bit more catering in order to perform well. Warrior of Light is still a really strong tank, being one of the few support-focused tanks with his healing, brave regen and shields. The value on his shields is starting to fall off due to bosses hitting harder now, but you can mitigate that by boosting his initial brave. Rem is turn efficient, but her low max brave is slowly catching up to the meta, making her hard hitting EX not hitting enough anymore. Great support and one of the best attack stat boosters in the game, however. Dark Knight Cecil's early EX Plus has proven to be more than enough for this unit to have a spotlight in the community's roster, and if you manage to build the team around him, the payoff is amazing. Edge is an amazing cheese tank who's able to taunt the enemy or give your team dodge when is the right moment, so always be mindful of the fight when you're using Edge. This may seem like a big surprise to some people, but Yang is extremely good when he gets his EX Plus during Porom's Lost chapter. He's able to deal splash damage with his HP Plus, first skill and EX, and he's able to dump his Brave after using Focus with a multi-hit AoE attack. Do not sleep on Yang if you are also pulling for Porom. He's a very strong physical damage unit. Vanille is still the best dispeller in the game in my opinion, and her strong debuffs and constant EX damage is helping her stay relevant after so many months. Lael's ability to bloat the score on any stage makes him the best launcher option for now, and his fast EX helps him with his damage output and launches immensely. Aerith's big problems were having dead turns and being unable to keep up her EX buff. Her EX Plus fixes most of those problems, which makes her a very safe option for a support in any type of team composition. Sarah suffers from low max brave the same way Rem does, and that's more apparent if you don't have preferred artifacts for her, but even so, her strong offensive buffs and aura along with her constant AoE damage makes her a strong debuffer and battery option for any time. Noctis can be raised to an amazing unit in the hands of an experienced player, while he's a lackluster unit in the hands of a new player. High skill ceiling unit that can do magic in the right hands. Selphie gets a bad rep for not providing total debuff immunity, but she's able to increase the recast rate of every EX in your team, which can breathe new life to slow units. Very good examples are Dark Knight Cecil or Exdeath. Beatrix went from starving for skills to a longevity monster while being a very strong defensive support for your team. An amazing AoE shaver with a very versatile kit. Paladin Cecil is basically an amazing jack of all trades that, thanks to the elemental weakness change, he can dish out some pretty good damage. As a bonus, he's one of the few units that can enchant the whole party with their bloom skills for bursting phases. Lan and Rain are the little king and queen of AoE magic DPS that can dish out some pretty serious damage with some overflow support. Fran, as a pure range unit, is second only to Aranea in terms of damage, and the utility she provides in the form of debuffs and her aura makes her a strong debuffer option, especially for ranged teams. Last, we have Papalimo, a very strong duo elemental mage with lots of free turns and a versatile kit which allows him to focus on either single target or AoE damage on command. I was really struggling on where I should put Yuffie, but out of all of her abilities, I want to mention her option of stealing buffs and also throw back debuffs in your enemy's face, which is something that is really unique and that sometimes can trivialize a fight for you. Bards is a strong aura bot with a fast EX ability who's able to constantly batter your team while dealing damage at the same time, and a gravity shaver as a bonus. Onion Knight is also a unit with a versatile kit who in a way is similar to Papalimo, but in my opinion not as strong. Like Paladin Cecil, he's able to enchant his team with his bloom skill. Setzer is still going strong both as a friend unit and as a niche party choice, and his fast EX is helping with his skill rotation a lot in order to maximize the value of his abilities. Wagga is going to receive a rework and an EX realization during the Ultimate Diabolos event, and he becomes an offensive, speedy battery option for your team with a constant EX damage, but you gotta be careful not to push his own buffs off him because his damage will drop a lot. Shantodo is the best elemental DPS enabler in the game since she can imperil every element and can help units that cannot do that like Beatrix or Edge. Her own damage is very respectable and her fast EX makes her a great shaver as well. Balthier makes every enemy buff his own, while dealing very nice damage with all of his skills. He shines in multi-target fights and thankfully this is pretty regular nowadays. Exdeath needs some catering to in order to dish out respectable damage, but his ability to ignore any kind of defense or resistances and constant gravity shaving makes him a very strong unit. Celes, in my opinion, is still a very good tank option, who as a bonus trivializes magic type bosses. Her fast EX makes her keep up with damage output needed for chaos. Charlotta is our only base EX unit who is still an amazing support in chaos, mainly thanks to her free turns and the 20% increased HP damage for the whole team. 8 is a strange unit for me, and I was really struggling if I should put him in A tier because you cannot always guarantee the bosses will hit him. Lately though, we've had a lot of fights where the highest HP party member can be exploited to your advantage, and that's where 8 shines. Gao is yet another magic DPS with a versatile kit, who offers some battery and healing options for your team when you need it, and his counters are much more reliable than Aids. Tifa has dropped since last month, and she will continue dropping, but for now she is still an amazing physical DPS who can turn your dead battery turns into huge launch damage thanks to her fast hard-hitting EX. Gilgamesh is one of those units I advised against pulling for, but he is a great physical DPS. His utility is kinda lackluster, but the constant splash damage from his wild dance and always capping EX makes him a very valid DPS option. Noel returns with an EX Plus which fixes his Brave Plus attack into a free skill in a way, and his re-breaks along with a defense ignoring EX results in a very strong unit for now. Closing off the A tier rank, we have King, who's one of the strongest single target DPS units in the game, and his free turns from breaking makes him very turn efficient. We're starting off the B tier with Cloud, who is such a versatile unit if you have all of his weapon passives, but his longevity issues are becoming more apparent nowadays. Terra functions based on her buff stacks, which I am not a fan of. What I am a big fan of though is Steiner's reward kit and his EX, and his party battery options are solid, but his potencies are not the highest, which can hurt his brave damage and shaving without the proper support. Aigo has too many generic buffs and a slow EX, coupled with her very small overflow limits. Her damage and utility can fall off pretty easily. Faris is a very slow unit with a slow multi-target EX, which is more likely going to be a bad thing most of the times. Seymour just takes a while to get going and even more to reach his full potential during a boss fight. I am sorry buddy, but this is not World of Warcraft. Sabin also functions based on his buff stacks, and his plus skills not refreshing the duration of that buff makes things worse. Irvine is a good ranged team enabler, but Fran just does that better now, with their difference in individual damage also showing as well. Edgar's high turn rate skills will hurt him more than you think, and there are better options for both damage and debuffing. Sephiroth's saving grace is his gravity AoE EX and speed down aura. His potencies are really bad without proper support. Even though Jax gets free turns from breaks, he's a very selfish DPS that just doesn't justify using him over other stronger options. Lilithet is one of the best debuffers and batteries in the game, but her lack of shaving and the bad potencies on her EX makes other units more enticing than Lilithet. Kate Sith takes 3 party buff slots with average potency buffs, while his own damage is very low and his EX damage is based on RNG. Seven has problems of switching targets due to her debuff, and she offers nothing else to the party, so she can be replaced with other DPS units. As much as it hurts me to say, Agrias has become weaker over the months due to her skill uses and slow EX, which makes you having to HP plus a lot. Locke is another example of a jack of all trades character whose main use is DPS, but his own damage is lacking compared to other DPS units. Golbez is a clear example of a selfish DPS unit with a slow EX, meaning sometimes you won't be able to keep his Dark Imperial up at all times, and his damage will fall off considerably. Rinoa not getting a rework on her HP plus means her damage is much lower for Chaos standards, and self-inflicting damage means you have to build a team around a very average DPS unit. Lulu is one of those few units in the game right now that can both imperil and enchant the team with an element, which is why she's not placed lower, since her own damage is lacking in most situations. Firion is another victim of not receiving a rework for the Chaos era, which makes part of his kit very lacking, like his HP plus and Seize attack. Sing will return in May with an EX plus, which will fix some of her problems, but she's a very slow unit with a very slow EX skill, which is her biggest selling point. Garland is a pure single target DPS with a nice twist of delaying his target, but he's suffering from low skill uses and a bad HP plus attack. Bash has a low duration taunt and low duration buffs. His average damage is also not helping his case to be higher in this list. Ashe has 3 generic party buffs, a mixed type kit and 2 elemental skills with no imperils. Her own damage is lacking and she doesn't provide any kind of battery or healing. Caius is basically Agrias 2.0, meaning he is a unit with a very slow EX and low skill count, having to waste most of his turns on his HP plus attack, which is not anything special. Van unfortunately is currently unusable in most stages without also having Shantodo in the team due to his many elemental attacks. Yuna gets high turn rate on her skills for absolutely no reason, since her damage is lacking even with Valefor out, unless you want to waste the extra turns on battery skills. Tidus is a speedy DPS with low potency debuffs, who is too reliant on those debuffs to deal enough damage. Ace has to burn through base skills in order to get to 5 stacks of his buff fast enough, and the utility on his EX is based on RNG, which can't be reliable. Barret is a damage dealer / aura bot, but he's outclassed in both damage and party utility by other units. Machina is a selfish single target DPS with a not reliable counter mechanic. Liz functions off her chakra buff stacks, which she chooses to either spend on longevity or on damage. The buffs and auras she provides to the party are very minimal compared to other units. I am a big fan of Kimari's unique kit, but unfortunately both his damage and utility are lacking for Chaos. Camel Nuts must not get broken, which is a reason enough not to consider him in any fight. His whole kit is too complicated, with not a big payoff. Kiaran is yet another unit with a stacking mechanic which affects his whole team, so in a sense he's in a worse position than similar units, unfortunately. Squall is a very selfish DPS unit with longevity issues, which honestly I forgot about him before making this video. Onto the C tier. These are the units that are either outdated by not having an EX realization yet, or they got their EX plus quite early, which made them fall in power. All units I included in this tier list can be used in Chaos in my opinion, but the units in the C tier will never be your first option for any stage. Thanks for watching the 4th tier list video, and I hope you made it through the end. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, Chaos runs and a lot more. Like I said in the beginning, if you strongly disagree with me on some units, let me know in the comment section down below and let's discuss it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you during the new banner in a few hours. See ya!